Everyone steals movies, sports, fries. Why is it okay to take some things but not others? Why do I not feel bad stealing all 8 seasons of Australian Lego Masters? But I would never take my son's actual Legos, not even the Australian ones. So in this video, I wanted to understand the rise of piracy and our lack of guilt around it. And that led me to a bizarre new experiment with discs and seeds that showed we're hardwired to steal music, movies, and TV shows. Finally, how that very psychology revolutionized the world. Seriously. In the early 1900s, scientists thought criminals were just bad people, albeit with good nicknames. The best way to treat them was moral instruction, and if that didn't work, isolate them from society in asylums, prisons, or the city of Chicago. But in the 1960s, a new Chicago gang emerged. They called themselves the Economics Department, and were led by Gary, the human capital, Becker. Before Becker, scientists said you could recognize criminals by their prominent ears, large jaw, deep-set eyes, and shifty gaze. But Becker, a man with prominent ears, large jaw, and deep-set eyes, settled his shifty gaze upon the prevailing theories of criminality. He had a new idea. Criminals were actually rational. They commit crimes when the benefits exceed the costs. Decades of research have proved the Becker gang correct. On the cost side, what matters most is the probability of being caught, not the severity of punishment. We know that from work like this, which used a natural experiment. There was a synagogue attack in Argentina. In response, police were stationed on all blocks with synagogues. On the blocks where the police located, car thefts plummeted. There's also event study analyses like this one, which looked at Denmark and found a 42% drop in crime after they started collecting DNA for offenders. On the benefit side, there's also research showing that crime rates go up when rewards increase. Here's the cleanest example I can show you. A small silver collection sits in a church undisturbed for years. Now here's the price of silver over time. See if you can guess when the collection was stolen. Now let's look at the costs and benefits of online piracy. The benefits are clear. I mean, have you seen Lego Masters Australia? Actually, you probably haven't. It's Lego Masters Australia, but trust me, it's fantastic. On the cost side, there is the danger of a lawsuit.
You got served.
At the height of the record industry's battle against piracy in the early 2000s, they filed over 30,000 lawsuits, scaring notorious internet pirates like Captain Circuit Board and the dread pirate Robert from accounting. Now, 30,000 sounds like a lot, but it actually only represents 0.01% of piracy, and most of the lawsuits were either thrown out or settled for less than $1,000. If you run the math, the expected cost of pirating at the height of the crackdown was about a nickel. Now, it's next to nothing. But there are other costs to piracy besides the probability of getting caught. These other costs are called transaction costs. How easy is it to become a pirate?
Yar!
How many sites do I have to go to? How high quality will the download be? How do I explain my virus-addled laptop to the IT guy? Most people won't pirate if there's an easier way, if the legal price is less than the transaction cost of piracy. And that's what services like Spotify did. By making it easy to use it, they drove piracy way down.
Yar!
At the same time, though, the friction has increased for movies and TV. It used to be that Netflix had most stuff. But now there's a billion streaming services. Hulu, Peacock, Fubo, Crunchyroll, Quibi, Aribo, Voot, Tank Top, Seeso, Seesaw, Go90, and whatnot. Only one of those is fake, by the way. If I want to watch an old movie, say Blues Brothers, with my son, I have to wonder, what streaming service is it on? Do I have to rent it? Will I accidentally get Blues Brothers 2000 and have to destroy my TV? That uncertainty and the transaction costs have led me and others back to piracy.
Yo-ho!
And it explains why TVs and movies dominate what's currently pirated on the high seas. So those are the costs and benefits, but what explains our lack of guilt? I would never shoplift, except for that one time in high school. But that was a prank. I actually brought the box in there with me and fake stole it. This is the 90s. There was no social media. We had to come up with weird ways to entertain ourselves, like dress up in a tuxedo and fake steal things from Toys R Us. So I wouldn't steal because I feel guilty, but I admitted to pirating earlier and I have never lost sleep over it. I mean, everyone pirates, even the anti-piracy people. They used a pirated, unlicensed font in their anti-piracy ad. There has to be something deeper going on here, something in our psychology. So I spoke with an economist who ran an experiment that explains why theft online feels different. This is Joy Buchanan.
Well, there. Clean office, isn't it?
Who may or may not have a history of pirating.
Has the statute of limitations passed? What is that for downloading like a Backstreet Boys song?
So in the experiment, the students work in a digital environment, and then they do what exactly?
They could move goods around. They discover through experimentation what they can and can't do in the environment, and then they talk to each other about those behaviors.
What do you mean by behaviors?
People can take things from each other, and half of those things are rivalrous goods. They're physical goods.
Let's pause. Economists classify goods as rival or non-rival. Rival goods are goods where if I consume it, you can't consume it. If I drink your milkshake, you no longer have a milkshake, as we learned in There Will Be Blood.
I drink your milkshake.
Physical goods are rival. They can't be consumed by more than one person or animal, as we learned in Lady and the Tramp. In the experiment, rival goods were called seeds. Non-rival goods are goods where if I use it, it doesn't impact your use of it. We could frolic in the same park, enjoy the same mural. Digital goods, like ripped copies of movies used to illustrate points in econ videos, are by their nature non-rival. A PDF or an MP3 could be copied infinitely many times. Me having it doesn't stop you from having it. It's non-rival. In the experiment, non-rival goods were called disks. That distinction between rival and non-rival turns out to really matter. So how did they react when something was taken?
When you take a rivalrous good from somebody, it is labeled as stealing in the chat. The subjects themselves that have come up with that idea.
Brother, stop stealing seeds.
That never happens when the taking of discs occurs.
Take discs and make your own seeds. Our discs are basically infinite.
And how do they talk about taking the non-rival good, the discs?
A word that they do use sometimes is sharing.
Okay, that is crazy. That is a really profound insight. Because what happened is we took books, video games, records, and made them digital, transforming them from rival to non-rival. And now taking isn't stealing, it's sharing. That is a massive difference for someone's psychology.
And it does not feel wrong to observers, and it does not even feel wrong to the people who it's being taken from.
In the real world, we need some type of incentive so people produce these non-rival goods. But what this experiment showed is that most people don't think about that. They don't think about the production of the goods, they only think about the consumption.
If we all enjoy this music, then we might as well let everybody listen to it, because then our utility is maximized, or the social welfare is maximized.
That's econ speak for, hey, let's take this stuff and party. But that party is a very strange endpoint, because once the internet gets filled up with non-rival digital goods, it doesn't just change the way humans think about stealing, it unleashes the most powerful technology of my lifetime. Artificial intelligence. AI trains on non-rival PDFs, MP4s, MP3s. The digital nature of those goods not only enabled AI from a technological perspective, but a psychological one too. And there is some outcry about this theft, but it's way down on the list of concerns people have about AI. It seems most people are kind of ambivalent about AI's use of intellectual property. If you look, the criticism I see the most is AI's water usage. The consumption of a rival good, and it's a pretty minuscule consumption, I might say, compared to the guzzling AI does of digital goods. So our psychology first allowed us to pirate, and like it or not, that set the stage for the AIs to follow us. The humans torrented so the robots could train.
It's yours?
No,
Answer me. Who taught you how to do this stuff?
You, all right? I learned it by watching you.
Now, if you want to see another video on weird economic crime stories, I have a bunch on the channel, like how the gold standard caught a kidnapper, and how bad economics led to Scarface and Scarface Face. Check them out.